I'm really excited about this next panel that's coming up. Marty Caplan from Amber Studio, who has a long history in gaming, starting with Sega. And then we've got two from Sortium, the CEO, Marc and the CEO, Eaven Portillo. And I'll turn it over to these guys to talk about the future of NFTs.
Go for it, gang. Have fun.
Thank you.
What's up?
Hello, everyone. So I think we found out about 2 minutes ago that we're the panelists. Also, I'm emceeing.
Hey, all right.
So I don't have anything planned, but we will. We're going to be talking about next-gen gaming.
That's what it says up there. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Next-gen NFT gaming. So why don't Marty, you go ahead and introduce yourself first?
Absolutely. I'm Marty Caplan. I'm the head of blockchain games vertical at Amber Studio. We are a game developer for as a service for the last 10 years or so. 11 offices, 1,000 people across the world making games of all kinds, from console to an HD to mobile and free-to-play to now blockchain games and a little bit of AR, VR too. My background is in game production, so I've been a game producer for 25 years, since Sega days, been at EA, been at Play Studios, been at Zynga, been in lots of different places over the years, doing lots of crazy stuff. And time before that, I was in web at Netscape, when it was called Mosaic Communications. So I've kind of seen the weird technology, innovation, novelty explosions before in 1.0 and 2.0 web. And so now that we're heading into, you can call it Web 3 or Web 5, whatever, it's all marketing. But the essential cool thing is that there is just a giant novel opportunity here to take what used to be sort of really arcane technology and use it to empower people to have fun and participate in community, which is my kind of main thing, to make culture and push the culture of humans forward.
It's pretty good stuff. So then you're also joined by myself. I'm Marc and one of my co-founders, Eaven Portillo. Our company is Sortium. We're a new company, but we're not new to the space. So we've kind of in our own ways been around for the last, I'd say since like 2015 in the space. Eaven had built the application Blockfolio for anybody he was on the team and led the team that built Blockfolio for anybody who's familiar with that. I worked prior at the Topps company and built the NFT platform that they now have. Also introduced companies such as, or brands such as Major League Baseball, Bundesliga, UEFA, and a couple of other sports and entertainment brands. Did a little bit of work with Disney and Lucasfilm as well. And then we decided we wanted to do our own thing. We started Sortium with the goal of creating technology to revolutionize NFT gaming, but with the purpose that we could build real scalable economies, as well as facilitate proper play-to-earn gameplay and open up the floodgates for users to come in without a lot of barriers to entry. So that's been our primary focus through our tech stack and through a flagship title called Cryptogene that we're going to be launching later this year. And that's about us.
Cool. Cheers. So I think that, talking about the future is always something that bites you in the ass eventually, because you're never going to get it right. And that's generally been my experience with games, period. I don't know about y'all. But, you're always having hopes and dreams when you get into pre-production, and then things go wrong. So the part of the discussion, I think, of the future of NFTs is kind of what they do and who they do it for, and then how you make that work for you instead of having it, murder your teams. Because I certainly have had that experience over the last year or so, where we've done a couple of productions and had some success with a couple of projects, but we found that because we assumed that our game teams were sort of a standard game team, sure, they can develop something in public, they can handle the endless the appetite for updates that a community requires. they can handle the NFT production and do the game dev too. No. So anybody, I'm talking to anybody, any production producers, dev managers, don't do it. You need to have a radical restructuring of your thinking about how game production works to take advantage of this. I don't want to take too much time with this, but basically at Amber, we've actively, we've gone through a bunch of postmortems now, and we're restructuring for the future by having 3 different teams that are attached at the hip, but they're very different, run by different people. They have their own staff to do the production organization, and that is the game team. They're in a marathon, right? There's the NFT production team, which is a pipeline team that is like kind of like mountain climbers, or they leave a trail behind them that you could repeat. And then there is the marketing team, which is kind of a creative services team that can remix everything and make those little clips, make those little like GIFs, do memes, do all the social media marketing to make this flywheel work. Because another big piece of the future, and feel free to interrupt me, but I have various theories that we're operating on now, is the idea that the game is about 1/4 of what an NFT game project is.
If that.
Right? and you can think about it like, hey, this person's spending their day and they're having their free time thing, like Ruben Ellie was talking about. Super important to be respectful of people's free time, and that free time bounces from place to place to place. And one of those places is certainly online in the game, and you're playing the game, you're doing the core loops and having fun. But then you go to the Discord and you talk about it, or you show off, or you just meet people. Then you go to social media, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. You see updates, you see like the early warning signs of new things you're interested in, and you also do connections and social stuff. And then you have a whole website DeFi tradition, Web3, where right now all the marketplaces and all that kind of stuff that are also involved in this new way to game happen outside the game in like a high friction environment. But that flywheel goes around and around and around right now, and has been successful with a small amount of very dedicated gamers. But to expand it, it's just going to be a whole nother world, and adapting a team to be able to serve that is like the primary challenge that my teams are finding.
Yeah, I think our teams are facing some of the same challenges in that there's also a lot of infrastructure that goes behind it, right? So to take a traditional game development team that can cheat their way through the economics of the game or the sinks and faucets production of a game, and this goes for everything. I had been speaking to some people even at Blizzard at one point, and we're talking about World of Warcraft, and of course, at times the idea of do we tokenize all the WoW gold? That was something that floated around, and the simple answer is you can't, right? You can't take traditional game economic methods and force it into tokenization. What ends up happening is you get an unstable economy, and this is where I think today one of the things that we're seeing in development now that is going to start to evolve over the next several months to years is developers have to get really smart on how they handle the economics, and that could take you as much resources and as many people to build out proper economic structures as it would to build an entire AAA game.
Game economies are so exciting. I know. It's like it's like as exciting as the VFX, but it's the fundamental piece of making the game experience fun.
It's the entire key to Web3 gaming. Right?
Yep.
You don't have Web3 gaming unless you have proper ownership and proper data aggregation of your game, of all of the transactions, of all of the assets in them. So I think this is where we're going to start to see innovation, and it's not the sexiest thing to say, can't wait to see the numbers get better. But the truth is the games won't provide the value that everybody in Web3 wants until we have an economic structure that supports it. That's one of the things that we've been focusing on is how do we do deep tokenization of all assets and all actions within a game, right? And I think it's extremely challenging. We have a number of economists that work for us, token experts. We have our team that's been in the space, whether it's gaming or Web3 for many years, and you need to properly get in inflow of revenue into a game to generate value. One of the big things being used now is starter yields. And in my opinion, starter yields are just that. They start an economy, but they can't sustain an economy. They're gone. You get a large price increase, and then it bottoms out. Yeah. So I think what high-level studios need to bring, and one of the things we're attempting to bring, is leveraging all the decades of monetization experience that we all have being in the game industry. And now our responsibility, if we want to take part in Web3, is how do we build sustainable economic models that transition those old revenue generators, whether it's pay to win, in-game cosmetic sales, how do you transition all of these things and responsibilities onto players so that you can have player-generated content that sustains the economic system? That way you have an economy that scales with the amount of users, the content can scale with the amount of users, and you create proper inflow on the economic system so you can support play-to-earn users who just want to go in, they want to treat it as a job, a fun job, but they want to walk away ahead. Someone has to pay for that.
I think that's a fascinating, and that kind of leads into a giant piece that we're investigating right now with a lot of UX research, which is player types and how they are, what do they do with NFTs? How does owning an NFT and being able to resell it distort their behavior in ways that in free-to-play games or in console games is super well understood. But this new thing which is like the key novelty, which is this ownership piece and being able to trade it, is just a fascinating distortion on like what does it mean to be a collector when it's really more like a Magic the Gathering physical card you can collect, when it never was like that in games. Like what is this new utility, new value, new things, and how does that apply to, you know, the killer type player or the socializer type player or the explorer type player, you know, and really like using that as the engine to imagine what the future of these kind of games are like, and then make games where that's the central pillar. Like an explorer player who can own things that they explore and trade them. Like that just suggests to me, like, you know, you can cast that as a sci-fi game, you can cast that as a Wild West game, you can cast that as a, you know, for me these are all pieces of like the sort of you know, the rocket fuel that takes my imagination to new places and allows us at Amber to make original projects and projects for proposals for other projects for other IPs. Because yeah, I don't know about you guys, but we're getting a lot of people who are asking about, like, I got this old ass IP. What do you want to do with it? We got to be in the blockchain space, and we've got, you know, characters and movies and whatever for, you know, decades as a bucket, yeah, right? And then there's two other buckets, which is like the native folks who are new IP and they're like other side, like all you know, Yuga and those folks. And then there's people in the middle who are like, I got these old games and I need to like bolt on, you know, stuff to them.
My opinion is you can make a new game with old IP, right? As long as you're making a new experience. But we have to move away from the bolt-ons because those are never going to have sustainable economies. And I think the other key factor and the future of gaming is right now a lot of the Web3 games that are out there are simply not fun.
Yeah, fun is kind of important.
A little bit. So one of the things other than these deep economic and tokenization systems that need to come into play is we need good content creators to step up and really produce. They need to provide fun games, fun IPs. We need to see original IPs. We need to see refreshed IPs, implementing new ideas, and starting to build out high-quality, fun titles. And I do think that is the future of NFT gaming. I think it's the future of, this is a cycle in my opinion. Every time we go through a new economics model structuring, whether it was Facebook games or whether it was mobile
100%,
apps, yep. They always go through the same cycle. The gameplay mechanics and the fidelity of the games take a major backstep. You go through like the console phase where we got to very good quality graphics, and then we move into web-based games, Facebook and mobile. Everything takes a step back. You only start leveraging the core financial structure that's underlying, which, whatever it is, pay to win, or when we had microtransactions in mobile games. And then over time, quality comes in through bigger players, through people who have access to better tools, and they start to now innovate and expand on the economics model to utilize it in new ways. I don't know if the last couple economic models were so popular with how loot boxes went and the fiasco that caused pretty globally in the gaming space. But this is going through the same cycle, in my opinion. We're going to see over the next, I think, 12 months, some high-quality games start to come out. I don't know. I don't have a pulse on exactly how deep their tokenomic structures are. I think that'll tell a lot about how those games survive, especially in these current markets. But if they're fun and they can leverage the underlying structure of Web3 even a little bit, then I think they'll do well, especially comparative to what's out there today. One of the ways, though, that Sortium is innovating on fun in the space is trying to really leverage tokenomics in every aspect of the game in order to give a depth to what users can do. For CryptoGene, which what we've done is taken a bunch of core game loops and made microeconomies that we feel can sustain each of its own microeconomies that tie together into a bigger network. So, for instance, CryptoGene, you genetically engineer creatures. We have on-chain DNA. We utilize real CRISPR DNA algorithms.
Fun.
And it lets you go in. You can see the DNA. There's real aspects that correlate to that. We have a gamified way of splicing and genetically engineering. You could just do that. You could be a scientist in a lab, and all you want to do is genetically engineer creatures. I just like having fun doing that. That's my player type. That's fine. If you want to raise them, care for them, you want to effectively have a farm experience where all you do is...
That's a niche you can find, right?
Yeah. So many niches and creating economic loops for each of those niches so people can sit in them and earn while playing within those niches.
Yeah, really cool. We're seeing a lot of different things, models emerge. I mean, I'm a giant, like the two extremes that the projects that I'm seeing that I like a lot. One's Phantom Galaxies and how they did like the 500,000 NFT airdrop for free on Polygon, and then now that's part of their sort of you have to combine things, and they have kind of a model where you're earning badges, and that gets your Veritech in your game like upgraded. And then of course there's Forgotten Runes Wizard Cult, who are the exact opposite end and the most Ecto Games type of like project ever, where they're just like, hey, you got your wizard, do what you want, write the lore, it's yours. And people are like making comic books and making movies and making TV shows and making lots of different games, and it's like the most fun I've seen people have with like a very composable set of NFT assets. And so that to me is one really novel thing where you can make this, like with the exact same set of assets, people are making like 5 different games. And that makes those assets super valuable. Like that creates a network effect that's pretty powerful, right? And so that to me is another piece that's pretty exciting about the future of this particular like of blockchain games, where you're going to have that leverage of this ticket that you have to ride on like 5 different things, and then maybe have a piece of one of those things that you made yourself if you got a little collective of people together to make it. So yeah, I'm really excited about the future of NFTs and blockchain, and I think it's going to evolve to the point where they're just going to disappear into the background. You know, it'll be an expectation just like we have for free-to-play stores or IAP in games in mobile.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it should be, right? All of these models should be in the background, and Web3 is no different. These economic structures, the ownership of NFTs, all a user needs to know is that the value is there. And as long as the underlying architecture of the system is trustable, and people begin to know which ones are trustable, then that's going to queue it up for game designers to come in and kind of mask all of these functions in very creative ways and gamify the entire underlying architecture.
Yeah, and I think that's a cultural thing too that's really coming up. Like, I don't know if anyone has familiarized themselves with Gen Alpha, which is 8 to 15, who have been remixing stuff on TikTok their entire lives. It's really going to be all about that, and so the composable pieces of content, cultural content, and cultural reality will be NFTs ish or whatever the next gen of NFTs are on whatever chains went out or however we do that. But that'll just be all the pieces that, you know, every kid is like constantly sort of remixing to express themselves and be part of and make their own cultures that will emerge out of all this, you know, over the next like 50 years. Like it's pretty exciting to be here right now.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it looks like we're almost out of time.
Yeah, you got a video, right?
We do. So
Sweet.
Sortium has about a 2-minute just intro video for CryptoGene and some of the innovations that we're going to be bringing to the space. So if we could, please roll the video.
Hype it.
I need sound on stage.
Technical difficulties.
Okay, we're going to restart the video quick because they had.
So this is what happens when you build in public. It's all right. It's all right, right? You trust us. It's good. We're professionals.
You said.
If the sound doesn't play, then Evan, you could just make the sound effects.
The mouth guitar.
And a beatbox.
Okay. And you're gonna start rolling it now.
Here we go.
Nope.
No, we don't.
Oh, hold on. Which deck is that?
Well, while we're waiting a minute. Oh, we're now not waiting a minute. We're good to go.
Yeah.
You got it.
All right, looking good.
Thank you.
Great.
So
Thank
that's
you
a
all.
preview at CryptoGene, where everything in the game, the labs, the energy that runs your lab, the waste production of the lab, the creatures you'll create, everything utilizes deep tokenization. It's either an NFT or a currency in the background.
Rock on, guys. Hey, thank everybody. It's a fun talk.
Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Awesome movie. Loved it.